You are, one of the leading ethicists in these United States of America. First of all, just define your field. What is ethics, and what's the difference between ethics and morals, for example?
Well, morals refers to what people believe about right and wrong. It's what you study. It's anthropology. It's sociology. It's surveys. It's polls. Similarly, morals refers to religious beliefs. So there are people who say this is the right thing because I read it in the Bible, or I read it in the Torah, or I read it in some holy book. Ethics is the study of why the morals are what they are, trying to explain or give reasons. And ethics is also the critique of morals. If you want to put it another way, ethics tries to find reasons that appeal universally. So it's not always on the attack. One other thing you'll like, ethics is what we have when we don't have any morals. And what I mean by that is there are things that come up in science and technology that are so new, there's no rules. Cloning, stem cells, lots of cutting edge work doesn't have any morals. There's no laws, there's no guidance. Ethics is expected to try to make the first answer.
Well, that's great, because we're going to talk about that cutting edge science that, quote unquote, doesn't have morals yet. So what are the ethics around climate change?
Well, it's probably one of the biggest ethical issues we've got. The first ethical issue is, do we have enough evidence to demand that we change our behavior? Most scientists say yes, that the climate is changing in directions that's dangerous to human health, to agriculture, even to wildlife. And if we don't stop those warming changes, we're going to see more storms, we're going to see more flooding. It's not going to be a good situation. Now, some people say that evidence isn't convincing. So the first ethics question is, well, what would be convincing? How do you decide that the evidence that scientists say is true is enough to make you behave? And my view there's a consensus among most of the experts that climate change is occurring. It's occurring due to man-made causes, and it's dangerous. And I think we have to ethically then be prudent and say, we better start changing our ways. Otherwise, the next generation and future generations are going to be in big, big trouble relative to their health, relative to the economy. So to me, the principle might be cautious in the face of that much scientific consensus.
So you talked about caring for the future generations, and climate change, of course, has a long-term impact. We don't see it as fast as other things, but we live in a society of instant gratification. So from an ethicist or an ethical perspective, how do we get people to care about something that might not impact in our lives or our generation, but is a future forward thing that we should think about from an ethics standpoint?
I think that's a great question, and it's a common ethics problem. How do you weigh the immediate needs, the immediate desires of us running around saying, I want to fly in a plane, makes a lot of pollution, but the travel is worth it to me, versus what's my responsibility to worry about 3 generations forward when I'm dead and I'm not going to be enjoying any of the benefits of controlled climate change. Let me give you an analogy. We spend trillions of dollars in the US on our healthcare system, but it's almost all to treat diseases and treat problems that people have now. The amount of money we actually spend on research to find cures in the future seems big, maybe in the government-funded $25 billion range, but it's nothing. So we're basically saying our demands and our needs suck up all the budget, and what we spend for the future is relatively tiny. And I think in general, ethicists try very hard to say that's a bad equation. You owe more to the future, you owe more to the future descendants. Their morality counts. It's not equal to the demands of the here and now, but you don't weigh it enough when you're thinking about your budget. I mean, a politician doesn't get elected by future generations. They're hard to convince that they ought to worry much about that. They want to do something in the here and now. The ethical duty, I think, is to say, look, for the good of the common good, for the good of future good, you got to weigh it more.
Sure, and to that, to solve this climate change piece, really it's going to be a collective global effort, without question.
Let me jump in with one other thing.
Sure.
So there are also different obligations and duties, I think, for the powerful as opposed to the not powerful with respect to climate change. I mean, some people are going to say, what am I going to do? I can't do anything about the carbon emissions at a factory. Factory owners have to do that. And I think that's true. In some ways, in climate change, if I went down to a street in Brooklyn and said to everybody, you know, well, what are we going to do about carbon footprint? And they said, well, okay, maybe I'll use less plastic, or I won't throw away bags. That's nice. But the big impacts are not going to come from the individual ordinary citizen, right? You're really talking at who's controlling the levers of power when it comes to big industry, big agriculture. I'm not saying individuals can't decide to stop throwing away plastic bags, but that's a piece of a much bigger pie.
In addition to reducing your own carbon footprint, consider joining with community groups and organizations that can have a bigger impact together.